Chapter 7:11. When Si Qingyan saw Bei Yunj frown, he suddenly felt that he was thinking too much. Just as Si Qingyan was about to speak, Bei Yunj suddenly received a call. When Si Qingyan heard this, Bei Yunj's voice became gentle. "Grandma, what's wrong?" Director Lin stood by the table cutting flowers and said worriedly, "Have you seen you recently?" Bei Yunj's eyes moved. "I've been busy recently. You hasn't come to see me in a long time." Director Lin sighed. "I miss him a lot. Then I'll go and see you tomorrow." Bei Yunj nodded and thought for a moment. Director Lin was still amiable. "Grandma isn't thinking about you." Bei Yunj was speechless. Shouldn't she hang up? Go take a look at your second brother. Is something wrong?" Director Lin asked in a tone that was discussing with Bei Yunj. In fact, Bei Yunj had never rejected any of Director Lin's requests. "Okay, Ming, why don't we do it tonight? Tomorrow, you can come to my place. I'll cook something delicious for you." When Bei Yunj heard this, she chuckled. "Grandma, what do you think of Grandpa Bai?" Instantly. Director Lin didn't say anything either. "I think it's good to find a partner," Bei Yunj thought for a moment and said. Previously, Director Lin lived with the Qin family, but not long after, she moved back. At the end of the day, she was still not used to living with the Qin family. Bei Yunj did not want Director Lin to live alone at her age. If she was with Bai Mingzheng, she would have a companion. "Child, why are you always worrying about such a mess all day long?" With that, Director Lin hung up in a hurry. "I still have something to do. Go back to the Qin family early." Seeing that Bei Yunj wanted to say something but hesitated, Si Qingyan wanted to laugh. This was the first time he had been hung up on. "Master Pei, which ancestor made you give in?" Si Qingyan asked. "Dean Lin Longjun." Bei Yunj glanced at him and knew that Si Qingyan had always treated Director Lin as his idol. As expected. Hearing this, the smile on Si Qingyan's lips froze. What did he miss just now? So, his idol was so close to him just now? "Master Pei, are you going to Director Lin's house?" Si Qingyan was a little excited. "No, let's go to the Qin clan." Bei Yunj glanced at him and then left the computing institute. Qin family's old residence. "Second young master, don't continue with the album. Your hearing is still recovering. What you're doing is counterproductive." The doctor had just finished diagnosing Qin Yu and his head hurt even more. "Well, Brother Yu is going to release an album in 2 months. We can't delay it, Doctor. Doctor, can you think of a way to treat it as soon as possible?" 2 months? With second young master's condition, he'll need at least 4 months to recover. The doctor frowned. When old Master Qin heard this, his face darkened. He had not lost his hearing in old age yet, but Qin Yu had suffered such a serious injury because of recording a variety show. "You're not allowed to make another album. Before your ears recover, you're not allowed to return to your lousy company." Old Master Qin was infuriated. The arrogant and handsome man's eyes were as dark as ink and his voice was lazy and perfunctory. Okay, I'll listen to you." "Who knew?" The old master turned around and instructed, "Guard the door. Second young master is not allowed to take a step out for the next 4 months." Qin Yu was speechless. Before Bei Yunj, who was at the door, could walk in, she heard the old master's loud voice. Chapter 7:12. The corners of Bei Yunj's lips curled up and she could not help but laugh. Where did this old tyrant come from? "Grandpa." On the surface, Bei Yunj still did not want old Master Qin to fly into a rage out of humiliation, so she called out politely. In the next moment, when the old master heard that it was his granddaughter's voice, his expression softened when he turned around. The 3 grandsons present were speechless. "You still know how to come back? I thought you didn't want Grandpa anymore. You heartless bad girl." Although the old master said this, he held on to Bei Yunj, unwilling to let go of his granddaughter's hand. If it was in the past, the old master would not speak to Bei Yunj like this. He always felt that his granddaughter was introverted and might take his words seriously. However, the current Bei Yunj was even more troublesome than her 3 brothers. With one sentence, she could make the old master's beard explode with anger, and with another sentence, she could coax the old master's heart. She liked to torture people, but was not stingy with apologizing and coaxing people. With such a bad personality, although the elders did not say it out loud, they doted on her very much. Even Qin Yu and the other two could feel that the old master was being led by the nose by his granddaughter and did not know it. I'm heartless. Bei Yunzhi's eyes curved and she placed the snacks she had prepared on the table. She smiled lazily. Old master, do you want to try the dessert that your heartless granddaughter queued for 2 hours to buy for you? Hearing this, the old master turned around and realized that Bei Yunzhi was still carrying a box of exquisitely packaged desserts. He could not hide the joy on his face, but he still coughed lightly. So be it. Why did you bring desserts? Bei Yunzhi smirked and did not say anything else. The old master's health was not good and he could not eat sweet things. However, the old master did not take it seriously and often ate desserts secretly. He was often caught by the butler and reported to Bei Yunzhi. Although Bei Yunzhi had a headache, there was nothing she could do. She could only call the old master from time to time and reason with him. The old man probably hadn't eaten anything sweet during this period of time. Carefree Love Book Network. It just so happened that Bei Yunzhi knew that the desserts in this shop had always been sweet and tasty with very little sugar. That was why she had specially queued up to buy it for old master. Grandpa. Qin Yu suddenly spoke. The old man did not even turn his head. No, in your dreams. Qin Yu's thin eyelids twitched and he said, I want to go out tomorrow. The old man almost lost his temper, but he held it in. His face darkened. What are you going to do? I'm going to the company to get something. Then let the manager do it. After the old man finished speaking with a cold face, the manager beside him felt his legs go weak. It was indeed not easy for Brother Yu to grow up in such a high-pressure environment. Qin Yu's eyebrows moved and he licked the tip of his teeth lightly, not knowing what to do with the old master. Everyone in the recording studio will be waiting for me tomorrow. Moreover, even if I don't go out, won't I still have to listen to you shout? The old man was furious. You're still twisting words and forcing logic, aren't you? Qin Yu's eyebrows moved. Wasn't he telling the truth? You can go out, but you can't go to the recording studio. You can't go back to the company. The old master said. But, before Qin Yu could agree, he heard the old master say, besides, Gur has to follow you before I agree to let you go out. Bei Yunzhi's action of drinking tea paused. Qin Yu looked at Bei Yunzhi, but he was a little conflicted about his Gur going to his company. Chapter 7:13. No, Gur still has summer homework. Where will she find the time to go out with me? Qin Yu immediately retorted. Hearing this, it was only then that Bei Yunzhi suddenly remembered that she still had summer homework. This kind of familiar yet unfamiliar task was speechless. However, in her previous life, Bei Yunzhi had skipped grades too quickly, so she did not do much winter and summer homework. However, not long after, Bei Yunzhi remembered the mission Director Lin had given her. Suddenly, everyone heard Bei Yunzhi say, I don't have much winter homework either. Not only Qin Yu, but even Qin Luyin and Qin Lang, who were beside him, could not help but look at Bei Yunzhi. Although they had not seen Gur much during this period of time, they often sent messages to Gur. However, they could still feel that Bei Yunzhi was indifferent to them. But in the end, Qin Yu had actually made it unknowingly. Gur was even willing to go out with him. Qin Luyin's expression was calm, but Qin Lang's displeasure was written all over his handsome face. Qin Yu must be playing hard to get. Gur was still young and did not know how sinister people were. Qin Lang was furious. Old Master Qin was also surprised. He did not expect Bei Yunzhi to agree. He thought that his 3 useless grandsons had not made any progress at all. Grandma wants to see second brother tomorrow, Bei Yunzhi said. Instantly, everyone understood. So it was because of Director Lin that Bei Yunzhi was closer to Qin Yu. Director Lin, then let your second brother go with you. The old master agreed. At this moment, Qin Lang suddenly interrupted, I want to see Grandma too. The old master's eyelid twitched. Why were his 3 grandsons so thick-skinned now? They even called her Grandma directly? Does she know you? Why are you going? The old master chuckled. Previously, when Director Lin was recuperating in the Qin family, Qin Lang was the only one who had not returned. Now, he still had the cheek to visit Director Lin? What does Grandma need? I can buy something for Grandma. Qin Lang looked at Bei Yunj with a pitiful look in his bright black eyes. Even his unruly short silver-white hair made him look like a little puppy, making people want to reach out and rub him. Bei Yunj remembered that in the original plot, Director Lin did quite like Qin Lang. But in this life, the two of them had never met before. She didn't know why Qin Lang suddenly wanted to meet Director Lin. I'll ask Grandma. Bei Yunj looked at Qin Lang indifferently and did not reject him directly. However, according to Bei Yunj's temper, she would not reject Qin Lang directly. At this time, before Qin Lang could rejoice, he felt a cold gaze from somewhere. He turned around and saw Qin Lian retracting his gaze. His posture was refined and noble, and his handsome eyes were elegant and indifferent. Thin gold-rimmed glasses were placed on his high-nose bridge, and the light hid the darkness in the man's eyes. At first, Qin Lang thought that he had sensed wrongly. However, when he turned around, that cold gaze gathered on his back again. Qin Lang was speechless. Then, Qin Lang turned around and Qin Luyan slowly retracted his gaze. He was working. If he wanted to accompany Ger to Grandma's house, just say it. Why was he still acting so mature and steady? However, on the surface, Qin Lang still did not have the guts to argue with Qin Luyan. Chapter 714. When his eldest brother was ruthless, he could even throw his parents overseas, let alone him. Qin Lang took a deep breath and smiled again. I think it's better for eldest brother to go with us. As the heir of the Qin family, we should visit them. Turning around, Qin Lang asked, Eldest brother, what do you think? Qin Lian only looked at Bei Yunj, his low and calm voice sounding a little gentle. I'll listen to Ge. Qin Lang was speechless. I'll make a call and ask. With that said, Bei Yunj went outside to call Director Lin. When Director Lin heard this, she was a little surprised, but she hurriedly replied with a smile, Of course you're welcome. If you don't mind. From the bottom of her heart, Director Lin hoped that Bei Yunj could have a good relationship with her three brothers. Therefore, when she heard that Bei Yunj wanted to bring them over, she was even happier. Okay. Then don't get anyone to prepare any gifts for me. Director Lin instructed. I'll listen to you. After Bei Yunj was done chatting, she hung up the call and told Qin Yu and the rest. The next day, Bei Yunj arranged an early time, saying that she hoped that Qin Yu would go with her to pick out some gifts and ask the old master to let them out. However, in reality, she remembered that Qin Yu wanted to return to the company. On the way, Ger, get in. After Qin Yu got out of the car, he opened the door for Bei Yunj. However, Bei Yunj only stood on the spot. If you want to go back to the company, you can go back now. Grandma said yesterday that you don't need to bring gifts. She did not plan to let the three of them have a good relationship with her Director Lin. Although Qin Yu's relationship with Director Lin was already good enough. Qin Yu was stunned. He did not expect Ger to find an excuse for him on purpose. What about you? I'll go and pick something. You can go to Grandma's when you're done, Bei Yunj said as she glanced at her watch. However, Qin Yu frowned. Although the weather was not very hot, his guru was a girl with delicate skin and tender flesh. Qin Yu thought for a moment and said, My manager knows quite a lot about what the elders like. How about this? Ger, accompany me to the recording studio and wait for my manager to choose. What do you think? Hearing this, Bei Yunj looked a little tempted. After so many times, she still couldn't find a gift that Director Lin liked. Perhaps he really had to try it on someone else. Okay, thank you. Bei Yunj nodded. Qin Yu didn't mind Bei Yunj thanking him and only smiled. Don't worry. Second brother will definitely satisfy Grandma. Bei Yunj's eyebrows moved and she glanced at Qin Yu. After a while, he nodded. Seeing this, joy appeared in Qin Yu's eyes and his lips curled up. Very quickly, he sent a message to his manager and brought Bei Yunj to the company. Downstairs in the company, this had already caused a commotion. Film Emperor Qin. Someone said in a low voice, trying to suppress his excitement. Hey, Who's that girl beside Film Emperor Qin? Someone asked subconsciously. However, soon, someone recognized Bei Yunzhe's identity. It's the eldest young lady of the Qin family, Bei Yunzhe. Bei Yunzhe? I like her too much. She's a cool and beautiful young lady. It's a pity that the 4th season of This Journey doesn't have any scenes left for Pei Pei. Yeah, they even blocked the interview. It's probably because the Qin family doesn't want Miss Pei to debut. Hearing this, everyone was heartbroken. Such a beautiful young lady should belong to everyone. P.S. There are still 1 to 3 chapters left. It's slower. After I finish writing the first chapter, we'll continue to add to the top 10. Old Su can't write too many chapters. He can only guarantee the quality. At most, there will be 6 to 8 chapters. Chapter 7:15. Fortunately, the employees of this company had a clear rule, so no one took photos. So, Qin Yu brought Bei Yunzhe to the recording studio upstairs. Brother Yu, do you have anything you want to drink? The assistant walked over and said with a smile. However, her eyes could not help but stay on Bei Yunzhe with fiery eyes. Why was Brother Yu's sister so beautiful? She was indeed the best actor's sister. Feeling the female assistant's gaze, Qin Yu turned slightly and blocked her view of Bei Yunzhe. Warm water and a cup of cappuccino. Qin Yu knew that Bei Yunzhe liked to drink sweet things. However, when the female assistant felt Qin Yu's possessiveness towards his sister, her eyelids twitched unconsciously. She really wanted Best Actor Qin's fans to see how their cold and abstinent Best Actor Qin was obsessed with his sister. The female assistant felt that Best Actor Qin's gaze was a little guarded against her. She said with a fake smile, "We girls actually like beautiful girls too." Hearing this, Qin Yu nodded slightly and looked at the female assistant even more guardedly. "Just keep a proper distance." The assistant was speechless. What kind of strange boss was this? So, the assistant went to prepare the drinks, while Bei Yunzhe had already gone to the recording studio with Qin Yu. Bei Yunzhe had never been to a recording studio before. It was her first time there, so she found it quite interesting. "Yo, Brother Yu, where did your sister come from?" The moment Qin Yu heard his friends teasing, he pulled Bei Yunzhe's shoulders towards himself calmly. His arrogant and handsome eyes were languid, but there was a cold warning in them. "I brought her from home." Hearing this, the boss of this company, Yang Xian, finally regained his senses. This was Qin Yu's biological sister. Yang Xian was in disbelief. He thought that Qin Youjiao was already beautiful enough, but he didn't expect this real young lady to have really inherited the Qin family's unique appearance. She was simply a living god. Gorgeous ebook. The girl was excessively beautiful. She was wearing a casual white dress, but it outlined her slender waist, making one's heart itch. However, her bright eyes were languid, but there was a hint of coldness in them, making people not dare to blaspheme her. "So it's our little sister." Yang Xian showed great enthusiasm and took 2 steps forward, but was blocked by Qin Yu. "Mine, not yours." Qin Yu smiled. Yang Xian, wasn't this person too petty? However, to be honest, the only time he saw Qin Youjiao was when Qin Youjiao came secretly. However, the person beside Qin Yu was brought here by Qin Yu himself, who said that the young masters of the Qin family only doted on the real young ladies. This pampering was obviously very real. "Mr. Qin, let's discuss your arrangement." The woman next to him had a gloomy look in her eyes. If she didn't think that Qin Yu was indeed very talented in this aspect, she wouldn't want to work with him either. Hurry up and do your arrangement." After saying that, Yang Xian suddenly realized something. "Oh right, are your ears okay? Why don't we just put it on speaker instead of headphones?" This voice did not come from Qin Yu, but from the woman just now. Zhu Limin. He had won 3 large-scale music arrangement awards in the country. He was indeed a very talented arranger. Yang Xian froze. Qin Yu said, "Put on your headphones." Qin Yu. Suddenly, a voice sounded from the side. Everyone was stunned and looked at Bei Yunzhe instinctively. Chapter 7:16. Bei Yunzhe was silent for a moment before she said slowly, "Grandpa asked me to watch over you." Her meaning was obvious. If anything happened to Qinyu, she would not be able to explain it to the old master. This was also the first time Bei Yunj had taken the initiative to mention something to Qinyu. After a while, only then did the others hear it. Their best actor Qin suppressed his laughter and asked, "Are you concerned about second brother?" Everyone was speechless. With all due respect, they really couldn't tell that this elder young miss was concerned about him. Wasn't best actor Qin's expectations of his biological sister a little too low? Zhu Limin, who was beside her, could not help but sneer when she saw that a rich young lady with no ability dared to criticize her professional matters. "Mr. Qinyu, I respect you. You're a very talented person. But you have to know what kind of benefits and opportunities our cooperation can bring you." Zhu Limin's tone was slightly arrogant. "Actually, Qinyu, you should know very well that you've been at a bottleneck for a long time. Besides, the reason why you're so popular is because of your movie achievements and this face that is indeed worth mentioning." With that said, the people in the recording studio did not dare to speak. They could feel the tense atmosphere. Yang Xian's expression did not look too good either. He was a little angry at Zhu Limin's attitude. But in the next moment, a faint snort attracted everyone's attention. Bei Yunj turned around and picked up the cappuccino her assistant had brought over. She said slowly, "What you lack, you see what others have. It's quite realistic." Everyone was speechless. This elder young miss of the Qin family seemed a little wild. No one in the industry had ever insulted Zhu Limin like this, right? Indeed, her biological brother was still her biological brother. Although it seemed like this elder young miss did not like her biological brother very much, she could not stand others insulting him. At this moment, Qinyu only called out to go, but the smile on his lips could not be suppressed. Yang Xian glanced at Qinyu. 85 Where was his future? Would he be so happy that his sister insulted someone for him? Didn't he know that he would be the one to bear the consequences? Just as expected, the next moment, Zhu Limin slammed the table and stood up with an ugly expression. Sister Min, don't argue with a child." Yang Xian hurriedly smiled apologetically. "You're already an adult, but you're still a child?" Zhu Limin sneered. "That's true. A child who grows up with a silver spoon in his mouth will never grow up." After that, the others didn't know what to say. In fact, most people knew that Bei Yunj had entered the Qin family when she was 17 years old. It had only been exposed recently. "Madame Zhu." The man's indolent and dignified eyes were as dark as ink. His tone was cold and carried a hint of warning. It was obvious. Zhu Limin had crossed Qinyu's bottom line. "Qinyu, you're not the only one who contacted me. Other than you, several top singers have also contacted me." Zhu Limin narrowed her slender eyes and suppressed her anger. She smiled and said, "I chose you because you are indeed talented. But I don't want this product to be eliminated from the market because of a bad cooperative attitude." After all, they were people from the entertainment industry. Zhu Limin still wanted to fight for a win-win cooperation and make Qinyu's attitude better. Let's look at the arrangement. Qinyu glanced at Zhu Limin, but seeing that there were so many staff present, he could not let them work for nothing. Then Qinyu instructed Bei Yunj a few times and only used his uninjured ear to listen to the arrangement. Chapter 717. Zhu Limin pursed her lips and endured it before she started to discuss the arrangement again. Yang Xian leaned over, wanting to change the topic with Bei Yunj. He asked, "What did brother you say to you just now?" "He told me to ignore you." Bei Yunj glanced at him slowly. Yang Xian was speechless. Was he human? He was even wary of his brother? However, looking at Bei Yunj's aura and personality, Yang Xian found it hard to imagine that this was someone who grew up in a welfare institute. When he first heard this news, he thought that Qinyu's biological sister was probably an introverted and timid girl. However, he never thought that she would have such a personality. Yang Xian did not dare to talk too much. He only chatted intermittently, praising Zhu Limin for her talent and how many awards she had won, so that Bei Yunj would not be so rash. But who would have thought that the girl next to him would remain indifferent, her expression calm and composed. Half an hour later, Zhu Limin frowned and started to make things difficult for the assistant from just now. "Who asked you to add something to my water?" The assistant was stunned. "I'm sorry, Miss Zhu. I didn't know that you don't like honey water. This is lemon honey water. It's used to moisten your throat. Brother you often." Before she could finish speaking, Zhu Limin stuffed the cup into the assistant's hand. The cup lost its balance and fell onto Zhu Limin's body. Zhu Limin could not help but scream. Bei Yunj, who was beside her, could not help but raise her eyebrows when she saw this. She looked like she was watching a good show. However, unfortunately, Zhu Limin happened to see Bei Yunj. "Are you gloating?" Zhu Limin's expression darkened. "Miss Zhu, you're thinking too much." Bei Yunj glanced at her and quickly smiled. "I only plan to watch the show." Yang Xian was speechless. Qin Yu's biological sister was really amazing. It was his first time hearing someone answer in such a serious tone. It made him furious. "You!" Zhu Limin had just stood up when Qin Yu, who was beside her, spoke. "Xiaofan, who asked you to pour water for Miss Zhu?" Yifan was at a loss. "No, Qin Yu asked in return, "Did I give you a salary to let you work for someone else?" Yifan froze. After a while, Yifan could not help but take another look at Qin Yu before she carefully glanced at Zhu Limin, who was about to explode from anger. Zhu Limin's face darkened. She picked up the blue handbag and sneered. "Film Emperor Qin is really amazing. He's protecting his sister and his employees. Let's see if you can protect the reputation and sales of your next album." After that, no matter what Yang Xian said, Zhu Limin left with a dark face. Before Zhu Limin left, she said sarcastically, "I'd like to see which musician Film Emperor Qin can find to work with to get out of this crisis." After that, Zhu Limin had also disappeared from everyone's sight. Yang Xian turned his head and comforted everyone. "It's not anyone's fault. If she's gone, so be it. Anyway, is this the first time our Film Emperor Qin is tearing someone apart?" All the employees, Film Emperor Qin himself, Yang Xian changed the topic. "It's about this, indeed." Just as Zhu Limin had said, this was a crisis. When they had exposed it back then, they had specially caught the public's appetite. They said that the musician this time was a symbol of the music industry. Now that Zhu Limin had left, where were they going to find a symbol? If they found some lousy ones, they might be scolded to death. Especially the company. P.S. Third update. Be good and stay in the 7th place. I'll update in the afternoon. On the first day, maintain the ranking. There should be more updates. I've organized a monthly ticket lottery. Thank you for your support. Chapter 7:18. If he found someone with a low status, not only would he be mocked by others, his fans would also scold the company for being useless. However, with Qin Yu's current status, it was quite difficult to find someone who was on par with him. Besides, what Zhu Limin said was not entirely wrong. Most of Qin Yu's development was because of the popularity of his movie. However, this was not Qin Yu's intention. Back then, when Qin Yu didn't rely on his family and worked hard to build this company with Yang Xian, he didn't have such good resources. And the path of the domestic music industry was not as easy as the film industry. Therefore, Qin Yu could only try acting at that time. Yang Xian had always felt guilty, because Qin Yu's musical talent was indeed very outstanding. However, because of the popularity of the movie, it was easy for everyone to ignore Qin Yu's musical talent. Then who else can we find to replace Zhu Limin? Hearing this, Yang Xian also looked troubled. Zhu Limin was a veteran gold medal musician. It was even more difficult than ascending to the heavens to contact a musician like Zhu Limin in the country. Let's try contacting someone overseas. The main theme of this album is a national-style song. Qin Yu pointed at the score with his slender fingers. His ink-like eyes were relaxed and his temperament was languid. He was extremely sexy. Only 2 foreign musicians have tried our national style. The effect is not bad. Hearing this, they immediately knew who it was. One was Country R's Prani. The other was from K Country, but because she slandered Country A, She ended country A's development. Looking for that person from K country was courting death. As for finding Prani from country R, that was also quite difficult. But I heard that she has a good relationship with the members of the International Musicians Association now. Her value has probably increased a lot recently. She might not accept our invitation either. Yang Xian frowned. At this moment, a staff member beside him suddenly said, "I heard that Brother Yu's sister is in the International Musicians Association. Can't you ask her for help?" With that said, everyone regained their senses. Yes, that young pianist, Qin Yojiao. It was said that Qin Yojiao was also popular in our country now. Come and read. If Qin Yojiao was the go-between, it would definitely work. If it wasn't for the fact that the news released back then didn't match Qin Yojiao's identity. Actually, it was possible for Qin Yojiao herself to cooperate. However, in the next second, Qin Yu's voice sounded with coldness. "I only have one sister." After saying this, everyone suddenly shut up and instinctively glanced at Pei Yunj beside them. Therefore, was the fake daughter really out of favor? However, it was obvious that what Qin Yojiao could bring to the Qin family was much more than Bei Yunj. "Little fan, go and contact Prani and see if it works," Yang Xian immediately said. The assistant nodded and immediately went to make a call. Unexpectedly, in less than 10 minutes, the assistant returned with an unpleasant expression. "President Yang, Prani didn't agree. Plus, she and Zhu Limin are friends." Everyone immediately understood what was going on. Zhu Limin acted faster than them. "Isn't this Zhu guy too much?" Yang Xian was furious when he heard that. Would they only be happy if she caused trouble for them after leaving? Now, all paths had been sealed. Yang Xian didn't dare to think that the big shots in the International Musicians Association could be invited. Mr. Du Shao is also quite suitable. Beside him, Pei Yunj suddenly reminded him. Everyone was speechless. They couldn't even invite Prani, and she wanted them to invite the president of the International Musicians Association? Then the question was, did Du Shao have nothing to do and come to them for a collaboration? P.S. Be obedient and remember to update more monthly votes. The rankings are dropping a little. Chapter 719. The others could not help but feel their eyelids twitch. Yang Xian took a deep breath and smiled. "Miss Pei is right. Actually, I think Yuan is very good too. Should I ask her to write Spring Night Banquet again?" Bei Yunj was speechless. Yang Xian felt that this elder young miss really did not know the hardships of the world. Their company was not as lucky as Yumanran. He did not know where Yumanran had met Wei. Ever since Yuan wrote songs for Yumanran, her popularity had soared and was close to Qin Yu's. This year's Golden Melody Award would definitely be Yumanran. It was said that Yumanran had already been nominated for the Gretel Music Awards overseas. Yumanran was going to take the international route? Alright. Bei Yunj thought for a moment. Perhaps part of the reason why Madame Zhu had left in such a hurry just now was because of her. Everyone was speechless. Sure, she was really an otherworldly elder young Mississippi. So, Yang Xian, who was thinking about how to solve the problem, heard his assistant's shocked voice again. "Zhu Limin she, what now?" Yang Xian was annoyed at the mention of this old woman's name. "Let me tell you, you'd better not mention it. She said that she's working with Fei." Instantly, the entire venue fell into silence. Fei Yi was considered a unique singer in the music industry. Besides, it was said that Fei Yi was planning to make a national album this time. In terms of popularity, Fei Yi was not as popular as Qin Yu, but with so many years of experience in the music industry, he had saved many die-hard fans. This time, Fei Yi and Qin Yu had released songs together, so Fei Yi's fans would definitely not back down. This old woman must be doing it on purpose. She knows that Fei Yi and we are competitors this time. Yang Xian gritted his teeth. Besides, Zhu Limin knows all our arrangements. She must. Hearing this, Bei Yunj went forward to pick up Qin Yu's arrangement drafts and slowly glanced at them. This made the others look at Bei Yunj a few more times. However, Bei Yunj suddenly turned to Qin Yu and said, "We can go and see Grandma now." Everyone was speechless. They had thought that this elder young miss was thinking of something. It turned out that they were thinking too much. Qin Yu also stood up. His arrogant and superior eyes were relaxed and there was no seriousness or anxiety in them. Instead, he reached out carelessly and lifted Bei Yunj to tidy her clothes. The young and handsome man smiled, his magnetic voice low and gentle. "Let's go." Yang Xian asked, "Qin Yu, was this brother really not anxious at all?" "I still have to visit my elders. We'll talk about this next time. I can't deal with it right now." Qin Yu glanced at his watch and left with Bei Yunj. Brother Yu's sister doesn't seem to care about Brother Yu at all. Someone whispered, "Yes, Brother Yu is taking care of her." Someone felt indignant for Qin Yu. Why? Wasn't she worse than that Qin Yojiao from before? I remember that Miss Qin Yojiao knew to bring some food for Brother Yu when she came to see him secretly. Who allowed you to talk about someone else's sister? Yang Xian glanced at them warningly. If you don't want to be fired by Qin Yu, you know what to say and what not to say. After all, it was obvious how much Qin Yu valued and doted on Bei Yunj. Only Qin Yu's assistant felt that Bei Yunj was not as bad as they said. In the car, Qin Yu chatted with Bei Yunj from time to time. He had no intention of bringing his bad mood to Bei Yunj. Suddenly, must I work with someone? P.S. Second update, remember the monthly votes. Chapter 720. Bei Yunj only glanced at him through the rearview mirror. With that said, she looked at the scenery outside the window. Qin Yu was stunned for a moment before his thin lips curled up and his low and magnetic voice sounded. Second brother will find a good one. There won't be a problem. With that said, Bei Yunj's eyes moved. She knew that Qin Yu wanted her to feel more at ease. She lowered her head and did not say anything, only playing with her phone. After meeting Qin Luyin and Qin Lang, the four of them went to Director Lin's house. Although Director Lin's house was not big, it was more than enough for one person to live in. The lighting and ventilation were quite good. However, it could not compare to a big villa like the Qin family's. The moment they entered the house, Bei Yunj did not notice that even Qin Lang was not wearing a jacket like before and had an unruly expression. Instead, he was wearing a clean white t-shirt and his lean back was straight. Even his black earrings had been taken off and his handsome face was nervous. On the other hand, Qin Luyin, who was beside him, looked the same as usual. However, his sweaty palms revealed his nervousness. So, Director Lin opened the door and did not expect Bei Yunj to come in. There were three extremely handsome young men behind her. Each of them was more eye-catching than the other. "Hello, Grandma," Qin Lang said immediately after regaining his senses. However, he was slightly reserved. Beside him, Qin Luyin also nodded slightly, but his tone was gentle and polite. "Director Lin. Come in." Director Lin smiled and wiped her apron with both hands. Her eyes were gentle and she always made people feel that time was peaceful. The Director Lin in front of him was much younger than the Director Lin in Qin Lang and Qin Luyin's memories. Her hair was not white either. However, the gentleness on her face was still the same. Only such a gentle person could raise a gentle girl like Gu. "I've prepared some food. I don't know if you like it, but there are some snacks on the table." Director Lin smiled. However, Bei Yunj glanced at Director Lin. "It's not like Grandma won't buy it for you, child." Director Lin was amused. "No, I just feel like I've fallen out of favor." Bei Yunj's lips curled up and she looked away lazily. "Grandma, we like the snacks you make," Qin Lang said immediately, although his silver-white hair usually appeared unruly. But now that it was so obedient, it inexplicably made people want to touch it. "But Grandma will get something to eat." Director Lin was also a little obsessed with looks. Looking at the three brothers of the Qin family, she couldn't stop smiling. Her girl's brothers were indeed handsome. Bei Yunj, on the other hand, went back to her room. Leaving behind the three brothers, the air was cold. "Alang, big brother, don't be nervous. Our grandmother is very good." Qin Yu sat lazily on the sofa, looking very familiar. It was obvious that he was showing off. "Qin Lang, was Qin Yu asking for it?" Coming. Try the desserts I made this morning." Director Lin happily held 2 small plates of desserts. After the 3 members of the Qin family expressed their gratitude, they all took a piece from the plate. It was as delicious as the desserts made by Director Lin in his previous life. Qin Luyan and Qin Lang had different thoughts. However, when she regained her senses, she found that Qin Yu had already eaten a lot. Qin Lang was the first to be unhappy and immediately started to fight with Qin Yu. Seeing this, Director Lin was a little caught off guard. She did not expect the 2 noble young masters of the Qin family to suddenly fight over the desserts she had personally made. P.S. Third update. The good guys have dropped the rankings. There are still 2 more updates. Can the good guys get it back? Chapter 721. At this moment, suddenly, Qin Luyan stood up and tidied his sleeves slowly. He said in a low voice, "Is Director Lin preparing to cook? Let me help you." With that said, Qin Luyan glanced at them calmly and said slowly, "They like to eat like this." What he meant was that Qin Yu and Qin Lang only liked to fight for food. Wasn't this something only children did? Director Lin looked away and nodded. "Mr. Qin, do you know how to cook?" Qin Luyan looked down, the light in his eyes dark. "Director Lin, just call me a Yen. I know how to cook." Back then, because his legs were crippled, Qin Luyan had been depressed for a long time. It was always Director Lin who came over to talk to him. When he walked out of the shadows, it was Director Lin who taught him how to cook personally. Director Lin was a little surprised. She did not expect Qin Luyan to take the initiative to get close to her. Then she smiled. "Okay, then a Yen will cook with Grandma. Grandma's cooking is very delicious. A Yen can learn from her too." Hearing this, Qin Luyan's lips curved. Very quickly, he took off his suit jacket, revealing his muscular waist. The sleeves of the white shirt inside were also slowly rolled up. It looked like it was the first time a rich young master had cooked. However, when Director Lin started to cook, she realized that Qin Luyan really knew how to cook. Even the amount of seasoning she asked Qin Luyan to add was just right. This surprised Director Lin a little. "Ah Yen, do you cook often?" Director Lin had a feeling that this upper-class young master, who looked like he did not do any household chores, really knew how to cook. "I did for a while." Qin Luyan smiled. Then, when Director Lin was about to bend down to take something, Qin Luyan took it for her faster. Chapter 536 Literature. "Grandma, if your waist hurts again, let me cook." Director Lin was stunned. "Ah Yen, how did you know that my back hurts?" A dark look flashed past Qin Luyan's eyes, and his eyes were gentle and obedient. "I saw you pat your back just now." No one could imagine how Qin Luyan had sent Qin Youjiao away back then. It was even harder to tell that this person could do something like force her to abdicate. "I see." Although Director Lin did not remember when he had patted his lower back just now, he did not think that Qin Luyan would lie to him. Subsequently, Director Lin didn't leave either. Instead, she watched Qin Luyan cook while she helped him. "Ah Yen, give Ge some more time. That child isn't someone who would go to a dead end." Director Lin smiled at Qin Luyan in a chatting tone. Qin Luyan stopped washing the rice and said in a low voice, "I woke up too late. There were some things that couldn't be changed even if they were reborn. As long as you put your heart into it." Director Lin helped Qin Luyan tidy up his sleeves that had slid down. Some things will cause cracks in people's hearts for the rest of their lives. She smiled gently. "It's funny to pretend to be peaceful, but it's sad that we can't cross this hurdle." Principal Lin had watched his young lady grow up with his own eyes. He knew that his young lady couldn't possibly hate these 3 people. Even now, was very different from before, but her heart was still kind. Is a gentle person. She was in the past and still is. Director Lin smiled and said, "You guys are good children too. Grandma likes all of you very much." In the room. Chapter 722. Bei Yunj crumpled the score again and stuffed it into her pocket. She called Yu Man Ran. You still know to look for me." Yu Man Ran sounded aggrieved. She had seen the headlines last time. The girl beside Song Yao was definitely Bei Yunj. It was actually so good to Song Yao. They clearly knew each other first. Your relationship with Song Yao is too good. Do you not like me? We clearly knew each other first. Yu Manran didn't try to hide it, and her tone was a little pitiful. Bei Yunj was speechless. What were they thinking about? Yao Yao's dessert is quite delicious, Bei Yunj thought for a while and explained casually. Yu Manran was speechless. He didn't expect that the saying if you want to capture a man's heart, you have to capture his stomach first, was also applicable to women. I, Yu Manran, have long legs and a slender waist. I'm the young lady of a super wealthy family, but I was defeated by a small biscuit. Yu Manran said faintly. Bei Yunj's eyelids moved and she said, Manman, I need your help with something. She took out the ball of paper from her pocket and looked at it for a while before saying, I want to collaborate with Qin Yu on an album. I heard that the person who collaborated with Qin Yu on the album is Zhu Limin, right? Yu Manran had also looked for Zhu Limin before, hoping to work together. In the end, Zhu Limin didn't like her and chose another singer. However, what was regrettable was that ever since that time, Zhu Limin had been unable to write a hit song and was criticized for not being as capable as before. This also made Yu Manran feel confident that he was a coy. I saw her in the morning. Bei Yunj added. She left quite angrily. Yu Manran started to suspect that she had left because of Bei Yunj. Then go, why don't you tell Qin Yu directly? After all, he's your second brother. Yu Manran asked in confusion. There's no need for that. I'm partly responsible for what happened this time. Bei Yunj said slowly, ask them to send you the score and then send it to me. Alright, I got it. Subsequently, just as Bei Yunj went out, she heard Qin Yu answering a call. What is it? Qin Yu's voice was a little indifferent, with an imperceptible coldness. The person on the other end of the conversation was Qin Yojiao. She had heard from Pu Lani that Qin Yu had asked her for a collaboration, but Pu Lani had rejected him. Qin Yojiao laughed, her voice soft and gentle. Second brother, is there a problem with your album? Actually, I can help you. Prani and my teacher know each other. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. With that said impatiently, Qin Yu wanted to hang up. But in the next moment, Qin Yojiao hurriedly said. Wait. The people not far away probably knew who the caller was. Bei Yunj lowered her eyes and thought for a moment before she sent a new message to Yu Manran. No need. Then, Bei Yunj returned to her room and started reading. At this moment, in the long corridor, Qin Yojiao was persuading Qin Yu. Second brother, actually, I'm not worse than Pu Lani. If you don't want to work with Pu Lani, you can work with me. I'm already an E-rank member of the International Musicians Association. All members of the International Musicians Association needed to be assessed, and there was also an elimination system. Those below E-rank would be eliminated. Qin Yojiao was indeed very talented to be able to pass the E-rank examination at her age. With that said, pride appeared in Qin Yojiao's eyes. Chapter 723. This was something Bei Yunj would never be able to catch up to her. Qin Yu should know who was more useful to him now, right? However, on the surface, Qin Yojiao still said, Second brother, I just want to help you. I think Yunj definitely won't mind. Second brother, hey, listen, I don't want to hear your voice the next time I answer the call. The Qin family has nothing to do with you, and I have nothing to do with you either. With that said, Qin Yu did not give Qin Yojiao a chance to speak and hung up the call. This made Qin Yojiao's expression change and she gritted her teeth. She did not understand what Qin Yu was thinking. How could Bei Yunj compare to her? Either he cared about Bei Yunj's feelings or he was not even willing to accept her help. Taking a deep breath, Qin Yojiao laughed coldly. Sure. She wanted to see how they were going to resolve this matter. In the evening, after dinner, Bei Yunj was sent back first. Qin Yu and the rest went to the company. A few days later, Bei Yunj saw the summer vacation homework sent by Lu Yunxi. Her eyelids moved and she took a deep breath impatiently. In the end, she sat in front of the table and started to do her homework. Although the questions were simple, it did take a lot of time to finish the entire book. Towards the end, Bei Yunj did not have the patience to write the process and directly wrote the answers. After 3 days, Bei Yunj finished all her summer vacation homework, except for the 30 essays. On the fourth day, Bei Yunj received a call from Yu Manran. Before going to Yu Manran's company, she threw the summer vacation homework she had written to Lu Yuanxi and Chu Zhixing, who were working hard in the library. After entering the door, Yu Manran immediately called Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj looked at her and took off her mask. Did something happen? Your second brother. Yu Manran felt that Bei Yunj's relationship with the Qin family was not good, but he did not think that Bei Yunj would really stand by and do nothing, so he called Bei Yunj over. As expected, Bei Yunj glanced at her. What's the matter? As for your second brother, because he hired a new musician, he was accidentally photographed by the paparazzi. That's why he's been criticized quite badly. Yu Manran couldn't help but glance at Bei Yunj. The reason why Qin Yu was being defamed was because there was too much attention on him. Therefore, some unscrupulous media outlets would not let go of this opportunity. Most of them exaggerated and said that Qin Yu had hired a low-ranking musician this time, but in order to cheat fans of their money, he insisted that he was a gold medal musician. However, what Yu Manran found even more indescribable was that because of this incident, the new musician actually went back on his word. Bei Yunj could not help but raise her eyebrows. She never thought that Qin Yu wouldn't ask Qin Youjiao to help him. All this time, Bei Yunj had never thought that Qin Yu really planned to cut ties with Qin Youjiao, including Qin Lang and Qin Luyan. Do you want to interfere? Yu Manran asked cautiously. Get them to send the manuscript over before 8. Bei Yunj thought for a moment and said calmly. In the end, this was also the original owner's wish. Okay. Yu Manran smiled and heaved a sigh of relief. As a friend, Yu Manran still hoped that Bei Yunj could have a few more family members who could enter her heart. He didn't want to shoulder everything by himself. He didn't know where this habit came from. In the afternoon, many people were watching the commotion, including Qin Youjiao, who was far away in our nation. However, no one expected Yu Manran Studio to suddenly update a post. Yu Manran Studio, who is it? Who said that our Yun is a low-ranking musician, aggrieved. Then let's welcome our low-ranking, super, celebrity, artist, Yun's annual work. It will be a heavy hit. Please pay more attention to Best Actor Qin's new album Qin Yu Studio, P.S. 2 more chapters. 6th place on the monthly votes list. It's been hard on my good guys. Keep it up and continue to update in the afternoon. There will also be additional chapters. Chapter 724. Now, Fei Yi's fans were about to explode. It's teacher Zhu Limin. My child is so awesome. Haha, are you guys responding to Best Actor Qin? Best Actor Qin's career in the entertainment industry has been smooth. I didn't expect him to fall because of a new album. So, what's going on with Best Actor Qin's family? They didn't manage to invite a musician and are still trying to convince the fans? Gold medal musician? Isn't that teacher Zhu Liming? Fei Yi's fans had long disliked Qin Yu's family, but Qin Yu had too many film and television achievements. He was indeed worthy of being the best actor of Sanchi. But this time, since they had a chance, of course they had to trample on him. Including Zhu Limin. After seeing the comments online, she felt exceptionally happy. That Qin Yu, including that ignorant sister of Qin Yu, should pay the price for humiliating her back then. So, everyone saw that after Zhu Limin reposted it, she sent a message. Zhu Limin, I like young people who love music. This also gives me more inspiration. Not relying on a fan base or marketing. The meaning was obvious. She was mocking Qin Yu's family. Relying on fans and marketing was not true love for music. Not long after, hashtag Zhu Limin Qin Yu hashtag was trending again. Most of them were on Zhu Limin's side. After all, Zhu Limin had a certain status in the music industry. And Qin Yu was in a mess because of the new musician. So, another group of people started to criticize Qin Yu. However, about half an hour later. No one expected Yu Manran Studio to suddenly update a post. Yu Manran Studio, who is it? Who said that our Yun is a low-level musician? Aggrieved. Then let's welcome our low-level, super, Yun's annual work that we have created with all our might. It will be a heavy hit. Please pay more attention to Best Actor Chin's new album Chin Yu Studio. Everyone who suddenly received this message was shocked. So, the person Best Actor Chin was really working with was Wang. You said that Yun is a gold medal musician. Are you forcefully lowering Yun's status? She's a proper musician. You said that Yun is a gold medal musician. Have you considered Yun's feelings? Teacher Wine actually opened a small account. Crazy bird. No way. Our Yun has a low ranking? Song is the pinnacle. She single-handedly groomed the top singer, Sister Man. She's a member of the International Musicians Association in Country A. Her latest song, Spring Night Banquet, has been praised as the best national style, both at home and abroad. I want to ask, which composer is better at fighting than our Wai? At this moment, everyone who had been eating melons for the past few days felt their scalps go numb. Then what about the new musician? Everyone was still a little stunned and could only click on the personal page of the new musician who had become popular because hashtag new musician Yaojia rejected Qin Yu's request hashtag. Yaojia, thank you for your concern. I've been very busy recently and didn't accept teacher Qin Yu's invitation. His meaning was clear. Qin Yu had invited him, but he had rejected him. Looking at this statement, Qin Yu's fans did not dare to say anything. After all, the photos had been taken, but he didn't expect that. In the end, the person Qin Yu was working with would be Wang. This time, Qin Yu's fans could finally hold their heads high. Many passers-by also came over to watch the show. Are you there? The weather is very good today. I think Best Actor Qin should be drinking tea and chatting with Wai. Take a guess. Will the winner of this year's Golden Melody Award and Gretel Music Award be you or Wai? P.S. I've changed a little. Babies, can you look at the previous chapter again? Pinch your face, you've fallen from 7th place in the monthly votes list. Be good, remember to vote and maintain the updates. Good evening, young ladies. Chapter 725. Brother, I know you're a little talented, but don't scam others. You accidentally scammed a god. Ha ha ha. Is Ning saying that Best Actor Qin can't afford to hire you, so he can only look for Wai? At the same time, other than fans, there were also some famous musicians who followed Yu Mandarin Studio. It was not because of anything else, but because in the past, news of Yun could only be found through Yu Mandarin Studio and the official account of the International Musicians Association. So, the big shots in the industry followed Yun's account and reposted this post to express their doubts. Everyone clicked on it and saw that they were all professors of XX Music Academy, classical musicians, and members of the International Musicians Association. Everyone's heart ached. This new musician had failed miserably. He had just started working and he had already scammed Wai. At the same time, seeing this message, Xiao Jia almost lost his grip on his phone and his scalp started to turn numb. How did this happen? He just felt that compared to being mocked with Qin Yu, it was better for him to use Qin Yu's popularity to climb up. However, who would have thought that Qin Yu would actually invite Yun? If Qin Yu could invite Wai, why would he invite him? Xiao Jie could not figure it out, but the truth had already happened. His face paled. Not long after, the 2 interviews that he had arranged previously called to cancel. It's over. Xiao Jie's voice was trembling. Everything he had worked so hard to manage was gone. In less than an hour, Yun had gained nearly 300,000 fans. However, she did not send any messages for a long time. Even her profile picture was pure white and there was no introduction. Suddenly, he turned off Yun's fans and realized that Yun had updated her status. Yun, young people only want to earn money. The moment the message was sent, the comments section exploded. In my lifetime, it's Yun who spoke. Haha, Yun is so down to earth. I love your work so much. Yun seems to be replying to someone. It must be Zhu Limin. Just now, Zhu Limin said that Best Actor Qin doesn't really love music and only wants money from marketing fans. Yun is so ruthless. I didn't dare to speak just now, afraid that I would be treated as Qin Yu's fan. She knows how bad Zhu Limin's results have been for the past 2 years. Don't try to scam me. Thank you. Jun and Film Emperor Qin are working together. It's actually true. Thank you, Teacher Wayne, for speaking up for my brother Yu. Not long after, one of Qin Yu's haters commented sourly. How much did Qin Yu give you to work with him? But he didn't expect Yun to reply. How much? You don't even dare think about it. Seeing this news, the others were all amused. Haha, Yun, mind your own business. As expected of Wang. Haha, I'm sorry. This is the first time I've seen a big shot speak. It feels so good. Her works are out in the industry, and even foreigners are crazy about Spring Night Banquet. You can't even imagine how many people have learned Country A's language because of this song. At this moment, Yang Xian, who was sitting in his office and surfing the internet, was shocked when he saw the series of headlines. Why didn't he know that Qin Yu and Yin were working together? President Yang, Yu Mandarin Studio called just now and asked us to send the score to them. His assistant ran over hurriedly. Yang Xian stuttered a little. Did any of us know Yin? You didn't invite her? The assistant was also stunned. P.S. Second update, remember the monthly votes. Chapter 726. Yang Xian was speechless. If he had the ability, would he still have to care about that old witch, Zhu Limin? Give me the phone first. Yang Xian took a deep breath and called Yu Mandarin Studio. However, he did not expect Yu Mandarin to answer the call. Yu Mandarin bit his apple and spoke incoherently. Who are you? Yang Xian felt that this voice was a little familiar. I'm Yang Xian from Qin Yu Studio. You are? Oh, I'm Yu Mandarin. Send me that score. The song over there, Yu Mandarin said, Yin is urging me. I want to know why Yun is working with us? Yu Mandarin felt that this Yang Xian was very talkative, but he smiled slightly. Of course it's because she values the best actor's talent, dear. Yang Xian was speechless. Although Qin Yu was indeed talented, he shouldn't be valued by I know. It's because of Qin Yo Jiao. Yang Xian's mind lit up and he immediately reacted. Yun and Qin Yo Jiao were both in the International Musicians Association. Perhaps Qin Yo Jiao had secretly begged them. I'm your mother. Yu Mandarin almost cursed. She took a deep breath and said with a smile, our wine has nothing to do with some people. With that said, Yu Mandarin hung up the call angrily. Yang Xian was still confused. So, who exactly could invite Yun, this great god? Turning around, Yang Xian saw his assistant in deep thought. What's wrong? Yang Xian asked. I have a feeling that Miss Pei might be a coy. The assistant said confidently. She said last time that we could invite Yun. Look, she's here. Yang Xian was speechless. The next time the department recruited people, they should really add a rule that they were not allowed to be superstitious. Go and inform Qin Yu about this. Yang Xian rubbed between his eyebrows. It was good that the matter could be resolved. Wu Juan later, when Zhu Limin heard about this, her expression darkened. Where did Qin Yu get the connections to contact Yun? Although Yin had been writing songs for Yu Mandarin was just a grassroots singer. Back then, he was not very popular and did not have any background. However, ever since Yun became Yu Mandarin's exclusive composer, Yu Mandarin's popularity remained high and even had influence overseas. It was said that they were #1 in the country in the first half of the year. However, after Yun made Yu Mandarin popular, many artists with powerful backgrounds contacted Yun, but they were ignored. However, she did not expect Yun to work with Qin Yu. Furthermore, this time, Fei Yi's album was released in the same month as Qin Yu's album. Wouldn't she lose for sure? Yun. Fei Yi also did not expect Yun to work with Qin Yu at this time. He glanced at Zhu Limin and smiled. Then let's release the album as soon as possible. Since she couldn't compare to Qin Yu anyway, why should she release an album with Qin Yu? Zhu Limin's expression didn't look too good. She wanted to say something, but she couldn't. Indeed. Qin Yu had Yun producing an album. It was impossible for the sales to catch up. Zhu Limin was already starting to regret arguing with Qin Yu impulsively back then. After all, Qin Yu's popularity was still there. Even if the album she produced this time was not good, the sales would definitely be enough. However, Fei Yi was different. The purchasing power of fans could not compare to Qin Yu's family at all. She was going to lose. How could she compare to Zhu Limin's face was pale? When Qin Yu heard this news, he was also very surprised. However, the first person who appeared in his mind was Bei Yunj. Chapter 727. His Gu seemed to have a good relationship with you, Mandarin. Qin Yu's eyes darkened and his Adam's apple bobbed. Did Gu help him? Actually, Qin Yu also knew that the president of the International Musicians Association, Du Xiao, liked Bei Yunj a lot. However, in Qin Yu's heart, he did not have the right to ask Gu for help. In this life, he only wanted to protect his family and Gu. Qin Yu opened the conversation with Bei Yunj and started to type. Qin Yu, Gai. Halfway through, Qin Yu's dark eyes were expressionless. He licked his lips and deleted all the input. He only sent a sticker to Bei Yunj and asked about Bei Yunj's recent situation. On the other side, Bei Yunj glanced at Qin Yu's message but did not have the time to reply. She sat in a spacious and bright office. On the right was a French window and the scenery outside was bustling. After a while, a man in a white coat walked over. It was Cui Hengchuan. I'm very surprised that Miss Pei would take the initiative to come over. Cui Hengchuan laughed and sat behind his desk, looking at Bei Yunj with warm eyes. However, Bei Yunj had never liked psychiatrists, especially the psychiatrist who treated her. Elder Zhong is still waiting for my medical records. Bei Yunj slowly crushed the candy on the tip of her tongue. Cui Hengchuan did not mind. Bei Yunj's attitude had always been indifferent. Instead, he smiled and said, "What's the relationship between Miss Pei and that Mr. Jean?" Hearing this, Bei Yunj looked up halfway, her eyes filled with a bone-chilling coldness. "I'm sorry, Miss Pei. I heard that you're staying with him. I need a reasonable analysis." This was also one of the reasons why Bei Yunj did not like psychiatrists. Passion, as you can see. Bei Yunj smiled faintly. She also wanted to know how this psychiatrist was compared to the psychiatrist she knew in her previous life. Cui Hengchuan looked down, his thin glasses hiding the strange look in his eyes. "You like him?" The other person in the room did not comment. Suddenly, Cui Hengchuan's lips curved. "But Miss Pei, I need to remind you. Do you think he will accept a crippled person?" Bei Yunj looked up. The coldness in her eyes was obvious. Miss Pei's research ability is indeed amazing. I believe that Miss Pei will gain an unprecedented reputation in this area. Cui Hengchuan smiled faintly. "The premise is that you can survive. Did you think that I would commit suicide?" Bei Yunj smiled mysteriously. Cui Hengchuan didn't answer the question. Instead, his voice was still gentle. "I have 2 patients who are as talented as Miss Pei." Of course, this was far from being comparable to Miss Pei. One of them was the painter. Due to the long period of oppression in his heart, he had gone completely mad. One of them was a researcher like Miss Pei. Because her husband cheated on her, she killed her husband and finally committed suicide. After saying this, Cui Hengchuan was observing Bei Yunj's expression, but he didn't see anything strange. "Cui Hengchuan, are you sure you want to treat me?" Bei Yunj suddenly raised his eyes and looked at him calmly. Cui Hengchuan was stunned for a moment, but the next second he smiled. "Miss Pei should be able to tell that I do have a good impression of you. I will ask Elder Zhong to find me another psychiatrist. I will go and pay the consultation fee first." Bei Yunj didn't look at Cui Hengchuan and planned to leave. "Miss Pei, if you don't like it, I won't do anything to you that I shouldn't do. This is the professional ethics of a doctor." Cui Hengchuan added, "And I am the most suitable psychiatrist to be Miss Pei's." Chapter 728. If Miss Pei's identity is exposed, how dangerous will it be? Perhaps Miss Pei knows? Cui Hengchuan continued, "Of course, I'm not threatening Miss Pei. I just feel that Miss Pei doesn't have to be unwilling to accept my treatment just because she hates me. You have to know that Mr. Wang Lin is very concerned about you. Bei Yunj glanced at him. Not long after, Pei Yunj sat in front of him again. She picked up the pen on the table and twirled it between her fingers. His tone was indifferent. Dr. Cui, you should hide your emotions. I don't like people looking at me like that. Is that so? Then what's the way he looks at you like? Cui Hengchuan smiled. Men could not hide their possessiveness towards the prey they were interested in. He knew very well that this was a man's bad nature. But he could not avoid it. The way he looks at me. Bei Yunj's brows relaxed and the corners of his lips curved. It's quite scary. These words made Cui Hengchuan unable to maintain his gentle smile. News bar. It's all done. Do as you see fit. Yu Hanran placed the key on the table and moved it towards Huashidu. What a waste. He had gotten a top-notch research lab just to give it to Bei Yunj? Yu Hanran took a sip of wine to restrain his jealousy. Yes, thank you. Huashidu took the key and put it in his pocket. You're already at Muse. Don't leave so quickly, right? Yu Hanran said faintly, I've been attending all the recent dinners. Aren't you going to drink with me today? Hearing this, the man glanced at him casually with his pale-colored eyes. Yu Hanran instantly felt guilty. What are you doing? I'm not drinking, the man said unhurriedly. Then, he held a cigarette between his slender and good-looking fingers and shook the ash off casually. His posture was lazy and light, and the corners of his eyes were a little seductive. The women around him who were secretly sizing him up could not help but feel their hearts beating faster. However, what the man was thinking was that after he drank a few times, the little girl was not very happy the next day. I see. Yu Hanran looked a little guilty today. He turned his head away and his eyes drifted. Actually, someone else came today. Huashidu looked up and waited for him to continue. This increased the pressure on Yu Hanran. Yu Hanran quickly lowered his head. Wen Jiuan. This time, Wen Jiuan chased him all the way to Yun City. He couldn't really do nothing. Then you two have a good chat. With that, Huashidu prepared to extinguish his cigarette and leave. Yu Hanran immediately said, You're not here for me. Why are you talking to me? Didn't you like her? Huashidu glanced at him and then at his watch, preparing to go back early. Then do you know who she likes? Yu Hanran's eyelid twitched. In the past, he had courted Wen Jiuan. After all, Wen Jiuan was publicly acknowledged to be beautiful and her personality was impeccable. But she didn't like him either. Every time Wen Jiuan was willing to talk to him, it was because Huashidu was standing beside her. Even when she was talking to him, Wen Jiuan's gaze was always on Huashidu. What does that have to do with me? As soon as the man finished speaking, he received a message. Are you home yet? The man's thin red lips curled up and he quickly replied. Not yet. At this moment, Bei Yunj, who saw this message, looked at the time and narrowed her beautiful eyes. She quickly continued to type. Where are you? Her hand trembled and the question mark turned into an exclamation mark. She accidentally sent it out. Bei Yunj. Chapter 729. Why did she feel that something was amiss? Just as Pei Yunj was deep in thought, the man on the other side saw this message and the corners of his lips curled up. When Yu Hanran heard Huashidu's words, his eyelids twitched. He took a deep breath and immediately said, Shidu, can you face the fact that you're single? He didn't have a girlfriend yet. Immediately, before Yu Hanran could finish speaking, he saw him press the voice button. The man's expression was languid as he casually put out the cigarette but with one hand. His deep and magnetic voice was low and hoarse with laughter, making one's ears itch. Yunyan, why are you so fierce? Yu Hanran was speechless. He was wrong. Huashidu was spending all his patience on coaxing his girlfriend on that child of his. At this moment, Bei Yunj clicked on the man's voice message without any psychological defenses. However, she heard the man's languid and magnetic voice, which had an additional texture of electricity, reverberating in her ears, making her blush and her heart race. Yunyan, why are you so fierce? Bei Yunj's heart skipped a beat. The next second, Huashidu called her. Bei Yunj was in the library. She could only stand up and walk outside to answer the call. Lu Yuanxi, who was beside her, saw that Bei Yunj walked out without saying anything. He instinctively wanted to tug at Bei Yunj's sleeve. However, he did not even touch her clothes. Lu Yuanxi was speechless. Is someone who has finished their summer homework so arrogant? Brother Lu, are you done with your foreign language homework? I'm almost done with my math homework. Chu Zhixing pushed Lu Yuanxi. School was about to start. Did he still care if Master Pei was arrogant or not? Soon. Look at what Master Pei wrote. It's even simpler than the standard answer. Lu Yuanxi could not help but complain. After finishing their foreign language homework, Lu Yuanxi and Chu Zhixing naturally exchanged the homework in their hands. At the door, Bei Yunj picked up the call and heard a man's voice clearly coming from the noisy environment. Yunyan? Huashidu should be at a bar or something. Bei Yunj hesitated for a moment. Brother, you didn't drink, did you? The man suddenly lowered his voice and chuckled. Then he adjusted his emotions. Not yet. But President Yu is holding a drinking party, so I can't leave. Yu Hanran, who was beside him, heard Huashidu slander him without batting an eyelid. You can't leave? Didn't you reject him very straightforwardly? Bei Yunj couldn't help but frown. He felt more and more that Yu Hanran was not a human being. Then I'll come pick you up. After hearing a satisfactory answer, the man narrowed his lazy and indifferent peach blossom eyes. The corners of his upturned eyes became even more seductive. On the surface, she was still quite polite. Sorry to trouble you, Yun Yun. Bei Yunj, she felt that there was something wrong with this man. At this very moment, Yu Hanran put on a fake smile. Master Du, do you know what you just said? Let's go. I'll drink with you. The man stood up and walked to the private room. But at this moment, Yu Hanran only felt that he was definitely going to take the blame. That little girl from Master Du's family was probably going to kill him, but in the next moment, Yu Hanran reacted again. He had just called Wen Jiuwan over. If Bei Yunj came over, wouldn't something happen? That little vixen from Master Du's family was definitely not someone to be trifled with. Yu Hanran's scalp went numb. However, what should have happened still happened. Huashidu and Yu Hanran had just walked to the long corridor when they heard a soft shout. Hanran. Yu Hanran turned around and saw Wen Jiuwan wearing a silver-white dress and a pair of high heels. She looked even better than a few years ago. P.S. End of update. Chapter 730. Wen Jiuwan smiled at Yu Hanran and her gaze returned to the man. Compared to a few years ago, the man seemed to have become more mature. He had lost his youthfulness, but his light and indifferent appearance was as cold and unreachable as before. He was a mature and handsome man with a tall figure. He was wearing a neat handmade suit, and his long and slender legs were too abstinent. He was the center of attention wherever he went. President Hua. Wen Jiuwan smiled naturally, but her palms were sweaty from nervousness. Huashidu glanced at her, then at Yu Hanran. He very consciously walked in. At this moment, only then did Yu Hanran realize that he had not explained it clearly to Huashidu. Huashidu still thought that Wen Jiuwan was here to look for him, right? Yu Hanran's eyelids twitched. Before he could stop Huashidu, Wen Jiuwan, who was beside him, pulled up her long hair that she had meticulously taken care of. He's still the same. He refuses to look at anyone. Jiuwan, Shidamite. Yu Hanran stiffened slightly. There's also a very special existence. Previously, he was most likely teasing Bei Yunj and Huashidu. But now, he had to admit that Huashidu might not really treat that young lady as a junior. Perhaps he had other thoughts? How special is he? Wen Jiuwan's heart seemed to have been knocked by something. She felt a little stuffy, but she quickly regained her smile. He doesn't have a girlfriend yet, right? He doesn't, but Yu Hanran did not know what to say halfway through his sentence. And Wen Jiuwan had come all the way to Yuncheng. It was impossible for her to give up her purpose of coming just because a very special person had appeared beside Huashidu. Then I want to see how special he is too. Wen Jiuwan smiled, hiding a trace of darkness in her eyes. Actually, she still had a trump card this time. She did not want to let go of the person she could not let go of when she was young. After Bei Yunj took a taxi over, the person at the door welcomed her to the private room. However, she did not expect to see Huashidu after pushing open the door of the private room. At a glance, she saw that they were all men in their 20s or 30s. There was only one delicate woman in a white dress. "Pei, Master Pei, you're here so early?" Yu Hanran was a little surprised and couldn't help but stutter. Bei Yunj's beautiful phoenix eyes glanced at Yu Hanran casually. Her slender fingers gently pulled down the black mask, revealing a bright and languid face, which was stunning. "Where is he?" At this time, Wen Juan also noticed Bei Yunj. After seeing Bei Yunj's eyebrows clearly, she was even more stunned. What a beautiful girl! Among the people Wen Juan had met, there were countless beautiful people, but the girl in front of her was the first one who stunned her at first glance. Not only her appearance, even her temperament was impeccable. Inexplicably, Wen Juan's hand that was holding the wine glass trembled. "Master Du? He went out for a while. He has something to do." Yu Hanran laughed dryly. He felt that the way Bei Yunj looked at him wasn't very friendly. As expected, Bei Yunj thought for a moment and looked at Yu Hanran again. Her eyes curved. "You dragged my brother to drink?" Hearing this, Wen Jun, who was beside her, paused and instinctively looked at Bei Yunj. "Brother? What did she mean?" Wen Jiuan knew Huashidu's identity very well. Huashidu only had one younger brother. Yu Hanran was speechless. "Master Du, I hate you. P.S. Did you guys cast your monthly votes today? Pinch." Chapter 731. Maybe. Yu Hanran braced himself and took the blame for this. Bei Yunj took off her mask and casually stuffed it into her pocket. She then walked to the side, picked up 2 glasses with one hand, and skillfully opened a bottle of wine. "Then I'll drink with President Yu first." The girl's bright eyes were flamboyant and unbridled. Her clear eyes were unruly, but there was no smile on her face. Yu Hanran hesitated. He had a bad premonition. Actually, Yu Hanran's alcohol tolerance wasn't bad. It could even be said that he was a rare opponent. There was no need to be afraid of a little girl. But looking at Bei Yunj in front of him, he didn't dare to really drink with Bei Yunj. What if Master Du came back and thought that he was bullying his little girl and argued with him about this? Yu Hanran thought for a moment and decided to give in to Bei Yunj. It shouldn't be difficult for him to pretend to be drunk. "Sure." Yu Hanran nodded, thinking that he would just pour half a glass later. But he didn't expect to see Bei Yunj fill the entire glass with wine. Yu Hanran was speechless. "This is F** King whiskey. You really dare to play?" Yu Hanran felt a little hot in his abdomen after drinking a glass. On the other hand, Bei Yunj seemed to be drinking Coke. Her eyes were clear and she wasn't affected at all. Isn't this person from Master Du's family a little too secretive? "President Yu, continue." Bei Yunj curled her lips and thought for a moment. Then she took 4 glasses and slowly arranged them in 2 rows. She then took a bottle of wine over. This scene caused Yu Hanran to fall silent. "We don't have to play so big, right?" Yu Hanran took a deep breath and said with a fake smile. The surrounding people were also shocked by this delicate and beautiful girl. Isn't such a beautiful girl's alcohol tolerance a little too high? "President Yu, are you afraid of losing?" Bei Yunj's casual words made Yu Hanran forget about acting. This question was related to a man's dignity. "Then come on." Yu Hanran also stood up, picked up the wine on the table, and began to drink glass by glass. Wen Juan was stunned and immediately asked, "Yu Hanran?" This was a strong liquor with a high alcohol content. "I'm fine." Yu Hanran wiped the corner of his mouth and continued to drink. Bei Yunj, who was standing in front of him, also finished the next glass of wine unhurriedly. The scene was inexplicably silent. Not long after, as soon as Huashidu returned, he saw Yu Hanran lying drunk beside him in the private room. The man frowned slightly and glanced at Yu Hanran with his pale-colored eyes. In the end, his gaze landed on another person and he couldn't look away. "Allow." Before Huashidu could finish speaking, he heard Wen Jiuan say anxiously, "President Hua, I'm afraid Han Ran won't be able to go back since he's so drunk. Hearing Wen Jiuwan's words, Huashidu's gaze landed on Yu Han Ran again. He was quite surprised. Yu Han Ran's alcohol tolerance had always been very good. In drinking games, he could hold off 3 people at once. This was the first time she had seen him so drunk. Seng Su. After Huashidu shouted, he walked in front of Bei Yunj without waiting for Wen Jiuwan to speak. Where did you come from? Huashidu lowered his eyes casually. His gaze gradually deepened as he bent down and leaned closer to her, sniffing the girl's neck. He lowered his voice and asked, Yunin, have you been drinking? Bei Yunj looked to be in good condition. His gaze was clear and he did not look like he was drunk. P.S. There's more. Chapter 732. I just came back from the library. President Yu's brother drank. The girl was beautiful, but when she looked up, her eyes were clear and seductive. Actually, Bei Yunj still had the smell of mint candy on her, and the smell of alcohol was not too strong. She didn't know why this man's nose was so sharp. At this moment, that President Yu older brother made everyone present freeze. They stared at Bei Yunj in front of them in disbelief. She called him President Yu when she was drinking, but when Master Du came, he became President Yu's brother? Don't you know why President Yu drank and even drank to this extent? Similarly, Wen Jiuwan also stared at Huashidu and Bei Yunj and unconsciously bit her lip. The man's action of leaning close to the girl just now could already be said to be ambiguous. So, was the special person Yu Han Ran was talking about this girl? Huashidu glanced at the dozen bottles of whiskey on the table and raised his eyebrows without saying a word. I can still drink, the drunk Yu Han Ran burped and opened his eyes in a daze. He wanted to stand up and pour himself some wine. Wen Jiuwan immediately pulled Yu Han Ran back. Stop drinking, Han Ran, you're drunk. Nonsense. Yu Han Ran said righteously and pointed at a few bottles of tequila. Master Bei, drink? Come, let's drink. After saying that, Yu Han Ran stumbled to get the wine. Bei Yunj was speechless. She was too careless. Seng Su, who was about to support Yu Han Ran, was also silent. So, half of the alcohol just now was Miss Pei's doing? Was this something a normal girl would do? At this moment, Bei Yunj did not look at Huashidu. She turned around calmly and walked out. I'm going to the washroom. Bei Yunj washed her hands and soon saw the woman in the mirror. It was the woman in the private room just now. Miss, your surname is Pei? Wen Jiuwan asked. Bei Yunj retracted her gaze and replied lazily. My name is Wen Jiuwan, an alumnus of Han Ran and President Hua, Wen Jiuwan said with a smile. Bei Yunj answered without looking up. Although the girl in front of her was young, she was very calm. Wen Jiuwan wanted to say something but hesitated. When Bei Yunj was about to leave, she suddenly asked, Aren't you curious? What's my relationship with them? Bei Yunj stopped and glanced at Wen Jiuwan. The corners of her lips curled up. What do you want to say? At this moment, Wen Jiuwan realized that she did not know this girl at all. Even in a few exchanges, she was at a disadvantage. Wen Jiuwan smiled. President Hui used to be very popular in our school. There are many people who like him, but very few dare to confess. It was not because of anything else, but because this man, whether it was his identity or his ability, made people feel that he was out of reach. Even she was the same. Bei Yunj looked at Wen Jiuwan calmly without any strange emotions on her face. Miss Pei, you're not saying anything? Wen Jiuwan asked. Bei Yunj curled her lips. What does Miss Wen want me to say? These words completely shut Wen Jiuwan up. Her face stiffened for a moment before she smiled and said, That's true. Miss Pei is still young. President Hua might also treat Miss Pei as his biological sister. Miss Wen, it sounds quite exciting when you say that. Bei Yunj laughed, her lazy eyes bright and charming. Just as Wen Jiuwan subconsciously clenched her fists, Bei Yunj asked unhurriedly, So Miss Wen likes my brother so much. Chapter 733. Wen Jiuwan, whose thoughts had been exposed, froze. Then, just as Bei Yunj felt that Miss Wen might not answer, Bei Yunj had just turned around when she heard the person behind her say. When Jiuwan's gaze was firm. I chased him from Nili to Yunqing for him. Back in the private room, Bei Yunj's expression was relaxed. She lowered her eyes, but her heart felt a little stuffy for some reason. It was not because of Wen Jiuwan, who had chased him from Nili to Yunqing, but because she had never seen Huashidu at the age of 18. So, Bei Yunj had just returned to her seat when she saw that her cup seemed to have been touched by someone. She subconsciously picked up the cup. This, Tseng Su reminded him softly, Master Du drank it? Tseng Su did not intend to stop him at all. He even felt that it was very normal. Bei Yunj, this is Volt V+. Vodka did not have any taste or color, so Bei Yunj poured a cup into it. After all, she had not drunk for a long time. However, she did not expect Huashidu to drink half of it. She had flipped. Bei Yunj subconsciously turned to look at Huashidu. A moment later. Assistant Tseng, I haven't finished my summer homework. It's time to go home. With that, Bei Yunj wanted to turn around and pull the man away. But when she turned around, she saw the man lick his thin red lips and pick up the cup again. The man's actions when drinking were very flirtatious, so much so that Bei Yunj could not react in time to snatch the cup. Bei Yunj, this time, it was really her fault. However, when she saw Huashidu finish the entire cup of vodka, Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. Brother, let's go back. Bei Yunj pulled Huashidu and said softly. Suddenly, Wen Jiuwan pursed her lips and smiled. Are you going back so early? The man only glanced at Wen Jiuwan indifferently before his gaze landed on Bei Yunj. His expression did not change, and no one knew if he was drunk or not. Bei Yunj took a deep breath and asked Huashidu, Brother, are you leaving? After that, the man merely loosened his tie lazily. His sexy Adam's apple bobbed, and that mole made her blush and her heart race. But he didn't pay any attention to her. Bei Yunj, okay. Bei Yunj took a deep breath and motioned for Tseng Su to come over. He drank. Bei Yunj said after a moment of silence. Tseng Su thought that Bei Yunj was suspecting that Huashidu was drinking behind her back, so he explained seriously, Miss Pei, I promised that Master Du only drank the water in your cup when he came in. Bei Yunj, that's vodka. Tseng Su, all of a sudden. Tseng Su froze and looked at Bei Yunj. What did you say? Bei Yunj glanced at Huashidu, who was not in a strange state, and immediately said, Should we take him away as soon as possible? Master Du is fine after drinking. He just doesn't like to talk. Tseng Su had been with Huashidu for so long, but he didn't notice anything strange about Huashidu after drinking. He just didn't like to talk to people. Bei Yunj, ? Miss Pei, believe me. Master Du won't go crazy after drinking, and he won't do anything out of line. Tseng Su said softly, There's still half an hour before the drinking party ends. Bei Yunj's eyebrows twitched, and she looked at Huashidu beside her. He wasn't crazy after drinking, but he wouldn't do anything out of line? Bei Yunj's eyebrows twitched, and she sat beside Yu Hanran again. Seeing that Yu Hanran was still a little groggy, she gently handed him a glass of vodka. P.S. Ahem, I fell asleep halfway through yesterday. I'll continue to make up for it now. Be good, remember the monthly votes. Our ranking has dropped badly. Chapter 734. Everyone watched helplessly as this unbelievably beautiful girl did not do what a person should do. Indeed. Yu Hanran laughed foolishly and burped again. After drinking, he collapsed completely. When Jiuwan's eyes widened subconsciously. Yu Hanran was already so drunk, yet she still gave him alcohol? It's just a man drinking some wine. Bei Yunj smiled disapprovingly. Her lazy appearance left a deep impression on the people in the private room, and the hair on their backs stood on end. This was the first time they had seen someone who dared to drink President Yu. For some reason, ever since Bei Yunj appeared, they did not dare to say much. At this moment, seeing that Yu Hanran had finally fallen asleep and his breathing was even, Bei Yunj also turned her head. She did not expect the man not far away to be looking at her with dark eyes. His eyes were so dark that it was hard to tell. Just as Bei Yunj was about to speak, Huashidu turned his face away again. It was as if he did not want to talk to Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj, what was he throwing a tantrum about? It was indeed a little boring to stay in the private room. Bei Yunj glanced at Xingsu beside her and gestured with her eyes for him to take good care of Huashidu. Then she pushed open the door and went outside to get some fresh air. In the hall on the first floor, under the strange lights, there was a dance floor in the middle. The music was even more numbing than the cocktails on the bar counter. Bei Yunj sat at the bar counter and quickly attracted the attention of many people. "Miss, what would you like to drink?" "Black Russian." Bei Yunj looked at the list on the wall and randomly chose one. The bartender was a little surprised. Quite a young girl could drink such strong wine. "Miss, this wine is quite strong." The bartender reminded her kindly. Bei Yunj smiled. "Yes, thank you." "All right, please wait a moment." The bartender nodded and went to prepare the cocktail again. But not long after, Bei Yunj felt that someone was looking at her and subconsciously turned her head. She did not expect to almost bump into Huashidu. Bei Yunj asked, "Why did you come out?" After saying that, Bei Yunj did not see Xingsu beside Huashidu. She frowned. "Brother, where's Xingsu?" The man did not answer her. Under the light, Bei Yunj inadvertently lowered her gaze, but even the man's thin white shirt and strong waist were faintly discernible. His eyebrows were indifferent and noble, but his temperament was extremely lustful. He was surrounded by ladies who were looking at the man. "Brother, you go back first." Bei Yunj subconsciously pushed the man away, but she didn't expect him to suddenly move closer to her. His eyes were so dark that even the light was hidden. It was hard to tell what he was thinking, but it was seductive. His posture was casual and lazy. He gently put down the bar behind her and held her waist with one hand. "Brother." Before Bei Yunj could finish speaking, the man bent down and rubbed his warm and fair forehead against hers intimately. His voice was low and hoarse, but it was also seductive. "Union." Bei Yunj felt a numbing electric current jump from her forehead to her entire body, and her entire body went limp. Her ears burned even more. This was much more deadly than 10 bottles of whiskey. When the young women at the side saw this scene, they almost screamed because of this man. Where did this domineering Xiao brother come from? Wasn't this too much? Bei Yunj calmed down and looked at Huashidu again. She negotiated, "Brother, let go of me first." The man did not speak. Bei Yunj finally understood. After this man was drunk, he pretended not to hear things that he did not want to hear. P.S. The recent chapters will be sweet, and Master Du will be cuter than usual today. Be obedient and say that you like Master Du. You have to work hard on the rankings. Master Du's scenes are in your hands. Chapter 735. Bei Yunj could not do anything to him and could only continue to reason with him. "Then I'll go back with you?" Hearing this, the man finally let go of Bei Yunj. His aggressive aura dissipated, but he was still holding her hand. Bei Yunj's right hand was held, and it was inconvenient for her to take the money. She rummaged through Huashidu's pocket and took out a black wallet. She pressed a few banknotes on the bar counter. However, after she left, Bei Yunj suddenly came back to her senses. "Brother, you didn't react at all when I took your wallet?" Huashidu looked at her lazily and turned his head. "Yes." Bei Yunj. However, to Bei Yunj, this was a serious problem. Hence, Bei Yunj stopped Huashidu in front of her and looked up. She said seriously, "Brother, you can't give this to others." After thinking for a moment, she added, "The things in the wallet are used to exchange for important things. You can't casually." Before Bei Yunj could finish speaking, Huashidu stuffed a black wallet into her hand. She looked up instinctively and coincidentally met the man's inexplicably deep eyes. Only then did she realize that the man's eyes were slightly red. He curled his lips and naturally wrapped his hands around the girl's slender waist, pressing her into a corner. He was very aggressive. His bewitching voice and low and hoarse laughter rang in her ears. He was hopelessly sexy. "Can I change it to Yunyun?" At this moment, Bei Yunj was already tensed up. However, the man even rubbed against her neck gently. Every movement was stimulating her senses. It was extremely dangerous. Yun, you smell so good. At this moment, the tense string in Bei Yunji's mind completely collapsed. This time, she had really made this man drink too much. It was vodka. Don't talk later. Bei Yunji's voice was a little hoarse. She subconsciously licked her lips and pulled him into the private room. She did not know if Washidu had heard her. However, it was indeed more awkward outside. Back in the private room. But Bei Yunji suddenly realized that something was wrong. Who kicked Yu Hanran? Where did the footprints come from? However, Yu Hanran himself was still in a deep sleep and had no idea what had happened. Only Tsing Su felt excited and scared. His eyelids twitched. After Miss Pei went out, Master Du suddenly stood up and kicked President Yu, who did nothing. Then he went out to do something. Now that he knew the answer, he was going to look for Miss Pei. However, seeing the scene of Yu Hanran being kicked just now, Tsing Su didn't dare to follow Washidu. This was really the first time Washidu had drunk alcohol, and he had done something very unexpected. Director Yu, what's going on? Bei Yunji thought about it and still cared about Yu Hanran. Everyone looked behind Bei Yunji. Their posture was lazy, and they glanced at Washidu indifferently. They did not dare to speak. Wen Jiwan was even more stunned. She could not figure out why Washidu wanted to hit Yu Hanran. The next moment, Bei Yunji was pulled to his seat by Washidu. He did not care about Yu Hanran's life or death. At this moment, Tsing Su started to hesitate. Did Master Du kick President Yu just now because Miss Pei was sitting beside President Yu? Tsing Su, who seemed to know the truth, was speechless. In the future, he had to stay away from Miss Pei and cherish his life. I'll call President Yu's secretary. Tsing Su immediately said. When Jiwan hesitated for a moment and looked at Washidu again. In the end, she pursed her lips and fell silent. P.S. Reader Group 615994832. Chapter 736. Everyone watched as Washidu calmly led her to his seat. They had already lost their ability to speak. When Bei Yunji sensed everyone's gaze, she lowered her head and played with her phone without changing her expression. The man looked at her for a while. His eyes darkened even more, and he seemed a little displeased. He leaned lazily on the sofa. His eyes were dark as he stared straight at her. The collar of his white shirt was loosened, and he exuded a lustful and frivolous aura. Bei Yunji was still adjusting her state of mind. She did not want to look at this man at all. But in the next moment, the man beside her suddenly said, Yun, you seem to be blushing. You're mistaken. Bei Yunji did not even look up. The more this man talked to her, the more excited he became. Is that so? However, when the man heard this, the corners of his lips curled up. He suddenly lowered his voice and laughed. Then I'll take a good look again. As soon as he finished speaking, Bei Yunji had just looked up when the man suddenly covered the back of her snow-white neck with one hand, making her unable to move. Washidu suddenly pressed forward. The cold and pleasant smell on his body filled the surroundings again. Washidu. Bei Yunji subconsciously gritted her teeth. Her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly as she called out in a voice that the two of them could hear clearly. However, the man continued to ignore her. His hand on the back of Bei Yunji's neck gently stroked her long hair. In the eyes of others, this action was also very possessive. At this moment, Bei Yunji heard the man's bewitching laughter. The man's lips curved, and the tip of his nose brushed past her ear. He leaned close to her casually, and his voice was lazy and flirtatious. Yes, you're not blushing. But Yun, why are you trembling? Bei Yunji was instantly angered. Washidu, do you think I should record this time? When Jiwan saw this scene, her entire body was trembling and her expression was ugly. From an angle that Bei Yunji could not see, she could clearly see the smile in the man's eyes as he teased the girl. This was the first time she realized that a man was not forever untouchable. At least he had another side when he was with that girl. When Juyen had to admit it, Yu Hanran was right. There was a very special existence by Washidu's side. When Jiwan took a deep breath and watched as Washidu walked behind Bei Yunji, Her legs felt like lead and she could not catch up. On the long corridor, Bei Yunj turned on the recording mode of his phone expressionlessly and waved it in front of Hushidu. As a warning, tell this man to behave himself. Miss Pei, I'll go get the car. Tseng Su hurriedly went to get the car. Yu Hanran's secretary had just come over and asked in disbelief, "Who is it? Who did it? Who kicked our boss you?" Bei Yunj subconsciously looked at Hushidu. She thought for a moment and denied her own thoughts. She left the bar with Hushidu. Outside the door, Hushidu behaved himself, but Bei Yunj didn't want to talk to him anymore. What happened just now was still vivid in his mind. After getting into the car, Bei Yunj sat on the right while the man sat on the left. His well-defined hand tugged at his tie impatiently. Hushidu leaned against his seat lazily. His gaze landed on Bei Yunj casually. Bei Yunj looked at him and took a deep breath without batting an eyelid. She changed her phone again. At this moment, the man took out his phone casually and started playing. Bei Yunj, was this D***M man deliberately going against her today? Chapter 737. Bei Yunj simply turned her head and stuffed her phone into her pocket. She did not want to reply to any messages. Not long after, Bei Yunj felt her phone vibrate. The atmosphere in the car was quiet and the sound was quite clear. But she did not intend to look at it. The man's posture was light and his eyes were half dark and seductive. Yun, someone is looking for you. Bei Yunj could not be bothered to turn her head and did not want to talk to him. Not long after, he suddenly asked, "Is it a man?" Bei Yunj, this D***M man was so troublesome. She turned to look at him and smiled. She unlocked the screen in front of him. Then she opened the message. It was sent by the man in front of her. Yun, brother wants to teach you how to kiss. Okay. After Bei Yunj finished reading it, her ears quickly heated up and a string in her mind snapped. She subconsciously looked up and saw that the man was so happy that even the mole on his Adam's apple was trembling with laughter. He was hopelessly sexy. She looked at the man's originally cold eyes. The corners of his upturned eyes were seductive and flirtatious. Her gaze seemed to be scalded and she quickly turned her head away. However, the man's low and hoarse chuckle, with a hint of frivolity, still rang in her ears. The man's wicked and lustful appearance was simply irresistible. Bei Yunj lowered the temperature on her face. Only then did she look at the drunk and lazy man beside her and smile. She turned on the recording mode again and turned the camera around. She held the man's hand and looked at the camera. In the camera, the girl's eyes were bright and unruly. The handsome and noble man beside her had a light and lazy posture. Her pair of excessively beautiful eyes curved. "Come, brother, what do you want to say?" Good Chinese, right? Bei Yunj had made up her mind to let Hushidu know a brand new version of herself. She curled her red lips again. In the man's eyes, they were bright and vivid. "Brother, don't miss the opportunity. Think about it carefully." Yun. Bei Yunj had just turned her head when the man suddenly grabbed her slender waist and held her hand that was holding the phone with one hand. The corners of his thin red lips curled up as he gently sucked on her snow-white earlobe. His warm, ticklish breath sprayed onto her sensitive skin as he nibbled and rubbed against her, causing her to lose her rationality. Bei Yunj's heart skipped a beat for no reason. She felt a tingling sensation on the back of her neck, making her unable to come back to her senses. The phone also fell to the ground. At this moment, the man's magnetic voice was particularly bewitching. It was ostentatious and ambiguous. Su shook the wind beside her ear. Yun, don't you want a brother?" His low laughter seemed to be able to make her ears burn. "Don't be afraid. Big brother can teach Yun how to tame me." After saying this, Bei Yunj's heart seemed to have been hit by something, and her heart was beating very fast. Back home, Bei Yunj still took Hushidu's phone. The man's phone had no password. Other than a few simple apps, there was nothing else. Bei Yunj opened the message record and deleted the 2 messages from just now. After doing this, Bei Yunj returned to her room and took a shower. After coming out, She inexplicably thought of the video just now. She opened her phone and looked at the video. From another angle, when she saw the possessiveness in the man's eyes, her heart still beat faster. She narrowed her eyes and suppressed the restless heartbeat in the latter half of the night. She wanted to delete the video. But a moment later, she stopped and transferred the video to a private space. P.S. Let's sort out the outline. I think it will be updated in the afternoon. Chapter 738. This video was quite pleasing to the eye. When the video was being recorded in the car, Bei Yunj did not react. Hoshidu held her hand and the camera happened to capture the man's handsome and abstinent side profile. Thinking of this, Bei Yunj felt that her heart was beating too fast and her face was inexplicably hot. Yun Yun, don't you want brother? What's there to be afraid of? Brother can teach Yun Yun how to tame me. Bei Yunj subconsciously went downstairs to pour herself a glass of cold water. She only calmed down after drinking half a glass. However, she would probably only be able to sleep very late. The next day, Bei Yunj did not expect that because of what Hoshidu did yesterday, she could not sleep for half the night, so she woke up late. However, she did not expect that the two people who drank too much yesterday would wake up very early. I'm puzzled. Why does my back hurt so much after drinking? Yu Hanran touched his back. When he had just woken up, his face was contorted in pain. Hoshidu was indifferent and noble, so he was not interested in this question. The next moment, Yu Hanran's sharp eyes saw Bei Yunj and his face was full of admiration. Master Pei, you're a god. As soon as he finished speaking, the man's gaze also turned to Bei Yunj, who was downstairs. Their gazes happened to meet. Bei Yunj walked up to them calmly, took a piece of bread and bit it in her mouth. Then she took a glass of milk in a glass bottle and left. She only left behind a sentence that was neither light nor heavy. Brother, I'll go out first. Hoshidu had drunk a lot yesterday and there was still a cup of coffee on the table. However, he was very familiar with Bei Yunj's state of ignoring him. However, last night, he did not drink on purpose. Who would have thought that the child's cup was filled with wine? What's wrong with your little girl? Yu Hanran could not help but ask. Nothing. Hoshidu looked at Bei Yunj's back view as she left quickly. His slender and well-defined hand was still rubbing the keys. He did not find a chance to give it to her. Are you really fine? Yu Hanran was a little hesitant. He seemed to have seen Bei Yunj look at Hoshidu just now and her ears seemed to have turned red for some reason. Hoshidu thought for a moment and put the key back into his pocket. Computing Institute. Nancy had called Bei Yunj over today to introduce Bei Yunj to the Higgins group. However, when Bei Yunj arrived at the office, she didn't expect to see a familiar face when she opened the door. The man was handsome and wore a classic black suit, but he exuded a sense of gentleness and indifference. Coincidentally, Xianxia looked up and saw Bei Yunj walking in. The corners of his lips curved slightly. Miss Pei. Bei Yunj regained her senses and nodded. Xianxia? After saying this, it was Nancy's turn to be shocked. You two know each other. Originally, he was worried that Bei Yunj would not accept him when she saw that Xianxia had a physical defect. However, he did not expect the two of them to know each other. Xianxia smiled and looked at Bei Yunj. Do you still need to introduce yourself? Bei Yunj curled her lips and chuckled. President Xiang, you're too polite. I'm looking forward to our collaboration. Hearing this, Xianxia also smiled and the two of them looked at each other. They had some tacit understanding. Nancy did not expect things to develop so smoothly. After Bei Yunj listened to Xiangxia's explanation of the company, she also had a preliminary impression of the Higgins group. Did you already know that I was the one working with you? Bei Yunj was interested. Chapter 739. She added, or, it could be me. Xianxia did not hide the reason and his lips only curved slightly. Hearing this, Bei Yunj did not think much of it. She smirked. Then let's work well together. Let's work well together. Xiangxia's eyes were gentle and elegant as he tightened his grip on the documents. But not long after, Bei Yunj left the computing institute. Shang Yan could not help laughing as he watched Bei Yunj leave. Shang Yan, Yuange. Nance could not react. We can be considered friends, Shang Yan said calmly. In the library, Bei Yunj walked in lazily with a yogurt straw in her mouth. However, she did not expect that only Lu Yuanxi and Song Yao would see her. They had agreed to do homework together today, but Chu Zhixing was not around. Master Pei, what's wrong with your Xiao Chu? Why isn't he here for such an important occasion? Lu Yuanxi was busy writing. He glanced at the lazy Bei Yunj and chuckled. Beside him, Song Yao had already finished her homework. The moment she arrived, she was helping Bei Yunj with the science questions. Are you sick? Bei Yunj sat beside Song Yao and handed them 2 bottles of yogurt. You were fine when you played games with me yesterday afternoon. Lu Yuanxi frowned. Hearing this, Bei Yunj called Chu Zhixing directly, but she did not expect the person who answered the call to be a calm and dignified male voice. Hello. Bei Yunj paused for a second. Are you Chu Zhixing's father? That's right. Mr. Chu's emotions did not fluctuate. You're Bei Yunj, right? He changed the topic. Although I've never heard my son talk about you, he seems to listen to you. Miss Pei is indeed amazing at such a young age. This was obviously not a good thing. Bei Yunj only laughed lightly. Mr. Chu, you flatter me. He probably did not expect the person opposite him to have such a reaction. He was silent for a long time. Not long after, he suddenly said, If Miss Pei wants to see him, why don't you come to the Chu family? Mr. Chu gave him an address and hung up the phone. Lu Yuanxi asked, What's wrong? I might have to go to his house to take a look. Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows and looked at Song Yao. Yao Yao, do you still have recording in the afternoon? Song Yao nodded and said with a smile, Then I can only visit student Chu's house next time. I'll send you to get a taxi first. After Bei Yunj sent her off, Lu Yuanxi teased him lazily, Master Pei, how did you manage to win over the Song family's eldest daughter? At first, he thought that Song Yao was just a good-looking girl who had a good relationship with Bei Yunj. However, he did not expect Song Yao to be the eldest young miss of the Song family who had an accident back then. I was abducted from Yun University. Bei Yunj glanced at her watch. You're going too? Lu Yuanxi was displeased. Are you looking down on my friendship with Brother Chu? Bei Yunj. Whatever. Soon. When they arrived at the Chu family, Bei Yunj realized that Chu Zhixing's family background was not bad. At least, the residents in this area should be rich people who moved in decades ago. Lu Yuanxi did not think much of it. After greeting the security guard, he walked straight to the front yard. However, he did not expect that there would be a gathering inside. The sudden intrusion of the two caused the piano to stop abruptly. Miss Pei, young Master Lu? Bo Jinxiao appeared slightly surprised, but a strange look quickly disappeared from her eyes. You're here? P.S. I'm here to catch up on my chapters. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.